So, Guido, completely on his own, in a place he doesn't recognize, with following some rock people towards a strange. I guess we could go ahead and assume this is a domicile, because I'm not sure what else to call it, to be honest with you. Um, it's chunks of smoothly carved rock and stone and granite, various different types. I'm not even going to make you roll for it. You can tell that there's quite a few different types of stone on display. It's not just all basalt or whatever, and it looks like it's very well carved, which is very unusual given that these creatures that you're following, if you recall, there's nothing that you would really call a fingers or digits or hands or anything like that on their massive flat rock arms,
Right.
with gemstones. There's several other of these creatures there.
Still in a language that I have no idea what they're speaking.
It almost sounds like someone is scraping rocks together. If I were to put a word or put a description to it, and immediately as you approach, you see a different looking one of the boulder creatures. It rolls over towards you, and it's got like way more gemstones than the other ones do, like all throughout it. The omnipresent little what's the gemstone I'm thinking of? Like the lime green, not emerald.
Malachite?
Malachite. Thank you. That is what I was thinking of. It's got like malachite everywhere. I mean, he is literally more malachite than he is rock and stone and dirt. And he rolls over and unfolds, and he's actually really. I'm using he as a generic. I could say it.
Doesn't matter.
Just more for my viewers. I'm not trying to be gender thing. Don't even pull that. So, it is more malachite than man. Twisted and evil. So the malachite thing rolls over and unfolds, and it's also pretty tall. It's actually larger than the previous one you saw was. And it looks at you, and it seems to be examining you very closely, like with genuine curiosity, but it's not doing so invasively. It never actually violates your personal space, and it's obviously taking great care, as if it's really concerned. Like, okay.
I'll take off my helm, hold it in my hand. So
Several of the other things roll off, and it gestures.
okay, I'll bring my horse.
Okay. You bring your horse, whose name you have now given. Would you like to share that with the...
I decided to call it a tarot. I think I'm pronouncing that right. It is the Latin word for ruin, which I just thought was, very appropriate.
Strangely appropriate, given the circumstances. For no given reason. So
No good reason, just,
So he's riding ruin. I mean, tarot, or however you pronounce that. And he trots over, and he's gesturing for you to go inside one of the domiciles. Now, I say domicile. It's obviously a structure of some kind. It's quite large. The doorway entrance into it, I'd say, is maybe like 40 feet tall, something like that.
it's definitely sized for these creatures.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's much more them-sized than you-sized. You, despite being a Lugian, admittedly a small Lugian, everything here it definitely feels like it's for someone several degrees larger than yourself. So you can go ahead and head inside if you choose to, or you can run off, or you can attack them, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
It's all good. Attack the giant rock creatures.
Is the rock creature still there, or has it already gone inside?
It has already gone inside. It has trundled in. It's kind of funny because as you watch it walk, it looks like it's almost unused to the animation, I think is the way I want to phrase that, of walking. It much prefers... I just realized I haven't muted WoW. Sorry if you're at home.
I haven't heard anything on this side, so...
Nope. But our viewers keep hearing DBM in the background there.
Oh.
Sorry, guys. Um, but the Guido's moving. Uh, it looks like it's almost awkward the way it walks, but at the same time, I'm hesitant to call it awkward so much as careful. Like it's considering every step carefully. Now, I may mention this to contrast this because for some reason you've decided to be observant, even though your awareness is typically terrible. And you could tell that when they're rolling, when they ball up into the boulder form and just kind of roll around, they just do that smoothly and easily as if it was so incredibly natural. But this, they're like step, step, very very precarious. But they're doing so nonetheless to get inside, and all of the other creatures around you are doing the same thing. Ever since the big one, the mostly Malachite creature, said whatever the heck it said, and so now nobody is rolling around, whereas before they were. So make of that what you will. Now, it like I said, it heads inside, and it looks like, honestly, I'm going to go ahead and relate this in typical Lord of the Rings fashion to a dwarven feast hall. I'm sure you've seen a dozen like it in many fantasy things. It really long table, really high arching things, lots of very decorative everything's everywhere. My words are the best, I swear. I could picture it in my head if I could just download it. It is colored in multiple different types of gemstones, not just the malachite, and there is a definite aesthetic sense to it. This is not something made by beasts or unintelligent creatures or anything like that.
Okay.
It is also worth noting that there's a great deal of cloth and leather here, which is also the first time you've seen either of those elements or items. Mm-hmm. So, and then those are decorating, like there's banners up on the sides of the walls, and there's actually a sheet along that table. By the way, the table is, of course, huge. But the table does actually have seats, like benches, more accurately, alongside it. Again, the whole hall thing. Harry Potter's another good example of that thing, now that I think about it. If you've seen the movies, where they actually show that. And there is currently nothing on the table, but there are several of the rock people who are precariously and cautiously walking back and forth, and it looks like they're preparing something.
Okay. Is there anything on the banners?
Yes, actually.
Anything identifiable?
Three things pop into view as repetitive symbols for you. One of them is... You know what? I actually have to look up this image. Or rather what I'm basing the image off to be more accurate.
Okay.
Because I want to describe this as clearly as possible. Because I am not a video game. Okay, so it's an image. It's got a diamond. Big, brown-dyed diamond with three triangles coming off of it. One off the top, one off of this the right half, and one off the left half. And that symbol, which you do not recognize, is predominant. It's one of the most common symbols you see in the leatherworking, in the banners, that kind of thing. It's all over the place. You can see it on the sheets. And now that you've noticed it, you recognize that one of the chunks of malachite in the malachite creature is actually in that exact same shape, although much more crudely carved. If you could even call that carved, it literally looks like someone just shoved chunks of the gem into a rough approximation of that shape, directly right here on where its right arm would be. The second shape you see is that this one you're probably going to go ahead and figure out, even if I did. I'm not going to make you roll anything for this. This is probably pretty obvious. It's a octagon, and the octagon is currently it's got a very small gemstone, and it is actually a gemstone, you could tell, I'm not going to make you roll for it, embedded into each of the 8 quadrants, and you recognize those 8 gems, and I forget all of them off the top of my head, but obviously one of them applies to each of the 8 elements, And the one for Earth is actually glowing. And that is a much... you only see that symbol like 3 or 4 times. But, for example, the overall banner hall has... Feast Hall has one large banner coming down the middle, like this, as you're looking into it. And it's got that symbol pretty much in giant form right there.
Okay.
And there's like 2 other things here or there that appear to be decorative, which also contain that symbol. The final symbol, the third symbol, is of third. Or, I mean, the final symbol is actually of... I'm trying to think how to describe this. I'm so bad at describing things verbally. It's a wonder I ever started GMing.
No worries.
When I was in school, no less. When I was in... What was that? That would have been 4th grade I started GMing. Okay. The third symbol...
That was about the first time I played, too.
Yeah, some people ask, what do you mean by career D&D-er? Well... I don't make money off of it. Well, I mean, I do now. So I guess I finally fulfilled the definition. It took me a while. Okay. The final symbol you only see once, and it is a symbol on something that looks kind of out of place. There's a chunk of some kind of stone, but there's parts of the stone that are carved in an embossed... They're embossed in, I should say, in some kind of pattern. Obviously, you don't recognize whatever it is, literally or physically. I'm going to describe what it is embossed in a second, but the embossment itself is also glowing a sort of a sickly violet color.
Okay.
Now, the symbol itself is... You know what? I'm just going to roll for it, instead of trying to decide. That's what we do in these games, right? We roll dice. Actually, had a huge discussion with someone about why we roll dice in Dungeons & Dragons. Okay, 2 would be... Hang on, which one would do 2 be? Give me a second. I gotta think about that for a moment. So 1 would be... I know what 4 is. I know what 4 is. Does that help? That's what I thought. Okay. That's funny, because I was going to give you that one anyways. So it's basically a spiral, but it's a square spiral. So like this.
Okay, yeah.
And then pulling inwards. And at the very center of that, the spiral terminates in a diamond shape right at the middle.
Okay.
And that, I think, actually satisfactorily describes the 3 things that are obviously artificial iconography in the room. Very large room, by the way, if I haven't emphasized that yet. Huge.
How close is that last unique symbol to where I am entering?
It's quite a ways away. In fact, I should have made you do an awareness check for it, but eh. It's actually pretty much on the other side of the room in what looks like... Oh, what's that sub-pantry that's not actually a pantry? It's like the thing that you have on hand. You know, the stuff you keep immediately, not the stuff you use for cooking and long-term stuff. There's actually a term for that, too, and I can't think of it. Whatever, it's in a thing that,
Okay.
invokes within you the idea of it being some kind of storage area off to the side, but not a permanent storage area, which you can imply whatever you want from that.
Sure. Okay. But it's too far away to just walk over to in, entering the building.
Correct.
So
now, if you want to walk over there, you can. That is allowed. You think?
I'm not going out of my way yet.
Okay.
So I'll be polite. I will have the horse, wait at the entrance.
I was actually wondering, because it is large enough that your good friend Ruin could actually fit in here. I'm sorry, I just love that name. But yeah, okay, so he, she, did you decide? Does it
He.
matter? Okay, he will go ahead and chill at the entrance.
Yep. I'm assuming the doors stay open, so. And then I will basically follow the Malachite. I'll say golem.
Sure.
I will follow the Malachite golem in, taking note of the banners and the symbols and whatnot as I go,
Okay.
and basically I'm just being as polite as I can at this point.
Okay. All right. So after a bit, the Malachite golem, which is actually a pretty good nomer. I'm going to use that. It gestures for you to sit at one of the benches.
Okay.
And to make this clear, it's obvious at this point that it can tell you. Actually, have you tried to talk to it at all? That's actually really important. I know you talked to the first one you encountered last session, but have you talked to this guy? To this golem thing?
Can't remember if did he actually show up at the end of last session?
No.
Okay, then I have not.
Okay. Well, in that case, it's going to change his attitude a little bit. Unless you want to talk, like, right now.
He's gesturing for me to sit. The bench, how big is it? Is it like his size, giant?
It is his size. You're going to have... You're going to have to... I mean, you'll sit on it, but... Okay.
Hold on.
Okay.
Can I have a step?
So... Let me get you a booster seat.
Yes.
So
no, I'm actually saying that in character.
No, I know. It's just
okay.
I was just that's what immediately up to line is get a booster seat for the giant. So it looks at you and it can tell your mouth moved because your helmet's off, so it can see that your mouth moved, and it can see you're vocalizing, and it seems to kind of give a gesture like a nod, except it doesn't really have a head, so it's more like its entire upper body does this. And it kind of pushes itself onto the bench, and then basically positions itself, sits on it. So it takes it a while. It basically has to lift itself up by its arms and then push itself down, and then it like points at you with its flat arm and points at the bench beside him, a decent ways. It's not like right here or anything, but over here.
Okay.
To demonstrate, and you can kind of tell that he has the clear, or it has a clear impression that communication isn't happening, and it's trying its best to try and physically convey things. It's very likely it probably wouldn't have even sat down itself if not for the fact that it's trying to demonstrate how to do that to you. So,
I'm guessing I'm going to need an athletics roll to.
Yes. To mount the dragon.
Okay.
Or, I mean, the...
Mount the chair.
Yes, mount the chair. We here at our Shanghai's D&D like to give our players challenging things to overcome. Like sitting down.
It's a 13.
Upon seeing you struggling with getting up onto the bench, the creature reaches over with this thing. And what it does, at first it looks like it's going to grab you and pick you up, but then it pauses, it hesitates, it's like, and then instead it lowers its arm down to the floor, and this flat part of the arm starts growing up, with just gem formations growing out of it, and forming a rather crude footstool right there.
Thank you. I will use the footstool. Do I need another roll, or does that?
No, that's
get
fine.
me up?
Yeah, that'll
Okay.
get you up. So you get up, and and now he withdraws his arm. The gems shrink back into the flat surface, and then it starts barking stuff, not at you, at the various other golems in the area. And after a bit, some of them come, and there's like a good 5-minute pause here, during which you can tell the creature is really uncomfortable just sitting here in silence.
So in that time, starting in common, I'm going to say we're obviously having difficulty communicating. Switching to Lugian, is there any chance you understand this language?
Now the whole time it's hunched over and it looks like it's listening at you. Obviously, it has no facial features of note, um, but it looks like it's listening to you. I mean, it's kind of leaning in your direction, but it gives no indication that you've even changed languages at first.
Okay.
So it's just
So this is a interesting place we have here. The that symbol on your arm seems to indicate some kind of rank or insignia of some kind. I wonder what that is. I'm just babbling to myself, out loud.
after a moment of you talking, it'll hold up its arm and then it'll gesture at itself and say,
Doing the same. Guido of Graniteholm. And, repeat, Guido of Graniteholm.
you're gonna try and say his name.
Hold
or
on.
designation, as the case may be.
Let me zoom my camera out just a little bit because it's a little bit too close, I think.
Okay.
So I'm doing this motion of, say it again.
It smashes its chest pretty loudly. Yeah, it actually echoes in the hall.
Squirrel?
And it just kind of shifts to look at you like. And then it turns to look at the audience and like. Okay, so after the totally awkward non-communication, some very large serving bowls and plates are brought out, and it looks it gets a lot like very excited. Like as soon as it's like and by the way, I actually know what he's saying in my head. If anyone's curious. So if you can follow my syllables, you can have a rough idea of what he's saying. And it picks up several of the plates and bowls and puts them in front of you, and they are filled to the brim with absolutely delicious-looking gemstones. Now, there's actually quite a variety of gemstones here. Such a variety that we're going to name some. Just for the fun of it. There are paradites and rhodolites and garnets and amethysts and sapphires and topazes and quartzes and ambers and rubies and tourmalines and turquoises and opals. This is quite a variety. And of course malachite, if I didn't mention already. I don't think I did. But it is quite a spread of gemstones.
Okay. I'm assuming I still have my gear.
Oh yeah, you are
So-
fully outfitted.
I will take out one of the rations. We still have trail rations.
You do.
And I will set that in front of me.
I
And-
would rather have this crap than your gemstone, sir.
I'll take like one of the pieces of hardtack.
Oh god, that's even worse. I was picturing like grits or something. Okay, so
Take a bite. I will break off a piece and hand it to him.
okay. Trying trying to think what it would physically do, because I know its mental reaction to this. It's like, so it's going to pick up the thing and look at it, like somewhere near where its head probably is. And then it's going to turn back to you. It's going to turn back to the thing. Then it's going to try, like, a crevice opens, and he puts it in, and immediately spits it out.
So I'll take one of the gemstones.
Oh God!
And bite it.
Which gemstone, out of curiosity?
Did you say either amethyst or emerald?
Emerald was in the list, yeah.
I'll take an emerald then.
Okay, so you take an emerald out and you try to bite it, and there's a little few sparks that come off when you do so, and obviously you can't bite it as you previously indicated, and at this point the creature's just staring at you. Actually, everyone in the entire room is. They're all just staring right at you, like speechless.
And so I'll put it back down. Shrug my shoulders and take the hardtack. Sigh.
At this, the creature slams its fist on the table and says something very loudly. And,
God, don't say roll initiative.
And then you die!
I've just insulted the entire race of...
No, it calls in another creature, which comes in and does a roll on you. And this one is much more invasive. It actually picks you up. This one is much less gemstone, much more rock, and way more dirt. It almost looks like a chunk of sod with a few bits of rock and gem in it. It's like, literally picks you up, starts turning you around, tries to examine your face, and all that weird stuff. Would you like to resist? Okay. Well, I already did its knowledge elements roll, and and it puts you down and has a short discussion with the Malachite Golem, and then the two of them just look at you for a moment, and you could tell they're just like totally dumbfounded, like don't even know how to deal with this.
Looking at the Malachite Golem, I've been wondering myself for quite a while. I'm sure I have an actual time frame from when the oh God, I can't remember the facility that we went to.
Oh right, way back in the show. It's actually been a little over a month at this point.
Okay, well.
Actually, I think we're pushing 2 months, but whatever.
I'll basically just say I've been wondering that about myself for about a month. Not that I'm sure,
not that they have any idea what you're saying, but
or any concept of time.
Now at this, they jabber amongst themselves for a bit in Rockies or whatever it is they're talking. They speak entirely in Yo Adrienne. What's sad is some of my viewers are too young to get that joke. And they're gonna... Well, I'm actually roll to decide what they're gonna do. Actually, you know what? No, I have a better idea. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna ask a third.
He's flipping a coin.
Is he really? Oh,
yeah.
Both options are bad, theoretically. Okay, so
lovely.
After a bit of Rocky's Yo Adrian discussion, they move forward, and the Malachite Golem comes in. It's still walking. It's still doing the walk thing, and it moves over, and it starts like gently shoving you out the door.
I will graciously go
And a couple of the golems, including one you actually recognize, it's the first one you saw, are actually going to travel with you, and basically they're as soon as you leave the building, they can, and you get back on your horse or whatever horse on your eldritch abomination.
I'm being escorted out.
Yeah, they make another go away gesture, and they will actually follow you if you do actually leave, for a decent ways to make sure that you actually leave.
Okay.
If you choose to leave, again, I'm not trying to force railroad you here. You may choose to fight the Rock Army if you want.
I'm debating on something. It's probably a bad idea.
That sounds like a great idea to me.
Uh-huh. Yeah. No. Are there any other features as I'm being escorted out? Landscape, like,
Well, as you, as I described last time, you're in obviously this kind of lime greeny malachite area. If you look in the distance through the fog of rock and gemstone, you can actually see that there's different colored areas in the distance. There's more of a reddish color that way. There's a whitish color that way. It's actually more like red and white, to be more accurate. It's opposing directions.
Okay.
And you might choose to go in any given direction if you wish. There's not much feature-wise you can see from here until you get further out.
Okay.
I wish you had a compass on you. That would really make me laugh.
19.
Okay.
Knowledge elements.
Okay.
You said, like, red and white.
Who is that?
I'm at green. There is theoretically an order to the elemental colors. Yes?
Yes.
Would a 19 on knowledge elements give me a compass for the points of where the elements would theoretically be? I have 3 points of the compass, theoretically.
Yeah, I'm thinking. We'll go ahead and say that based on your near total lack of knowledge, however, your elemental understanding and a roll of a 19, you think that if you were I'm actually thinking about that for a second.
If it makes any difference, I'm specifically looking for spatial.
No. Well, if you're okay, based on your totally wild guess, you think that heading towards the I guess that would be the red direction would be more inclined to lead you towards spatial.
Okay.
And of course,
well,
you have a steed, so you can go pretty decently fast.
Right. I was just going to say, Atero, I'm guessing we go that way.
Of course, Master. How many souls must we consume to fuel the fires of our passage?
Are there any souls here?
No, except for yours, of course, Master.
May have a problem then.
No. Oh, sorry, Master. I just get so hungry.
Okay, so you head in the direction of red. As on your way there, there's no subtle shift. It's more like pretty much abruptly, instead of there being malachite and otherwise gem formations, there's just these really red tourmaline and ruby formations instead. All over the place. Still very rocky, still the fog. Nothing's changed that wise. And as you're going through there, you happen to see several of these things that require you to do an awareness roll. I'm actually going to make you roll this one, because very bad lighting conditions right now.
30.
30? Oh, wow. You see on that guy's right finger. No, as you see several of the golem type creatures, which happen to have the ruby and tourmaline embedded in them instead of malachite, and they are rolling around at a rather brisk pace, actually, towards basically in the direction you're going, like you're traveling alongside them. They're actually going a little bit faster than you, but it looks like they just took off from wherever they were going.
Okay. Does it look like we will intersect, or is it
no.
more parallel?
No, they're ahead of you, basically, going the same way you
Okay.
are. Bless you.
Sorry, I thought I muted the microphone.
It's okay.
My mouse has been doing this weird double click thing for a while.
Nah.
Okay. I will follow them.
Okay. If you push a tarot?
A tarot.
If you push a tarot a little bit harder, you might be able to keep pace. That is going to be a roll of handle animal, or whatever it's called.
No.
Okay. Okay. You head in that direction, and it's quite a bit of a journey. I'm just going to simplify here. It's like a 2-hour trip. So, you do see, I'll just give this to you. As you're going, you do see other signs of life, other domiciles, other large structures. Again, ruby, red tinted rather than green, and malachite. There are other golems that you see, but they never actually cross your path. Most of them are rolling, going in a different direction. And as you get closer and closer to whatever it is you're getting closer to, you start to realize that you're starting to feel really at peace here. Like any tension or stress that was in your muscles or whatever has basically worked itself out on its own. So,
I asked Atero if he's feeling any different.
Atero feels great. Never
Any
felt better.
different?
No.
Okay. Well, we'll keep going this way until we either encounter something or leave the area, I guess.
Okay. Now I gotta be honest, I didn't actually foresee this per se, but this will work out, I think. You keep going and keep going, and you have to roll awareness. And because I actually had a player rules lawyer me about this, your horse gets an awareness roll 2. It rolled a 2.
So I got a 27.
Okay.
Intelligence for the horse is 7. So theoretically,
as you're, yeah, I was gonna say that's. So Taro's blind.
Yep.
As you're galloping along at a decent pace, not fast, not pushing it, you start to realize after a moment that as you look in front of you, you can still see the haze, you can still see, the same cloud, just like it's been everywhere else here, but you're not seeing any glowing things in the distance in front of you. It's all behind you or aside you. It's basically just empty fog in front of you, near as you can tell, as you continue to curve your way up.
Okay. So is there actually something off to the side? Something that I should be heading towards?
There's the usual array of lights in the distance, which, from your experience, indicate the large gem structures, randomly aside you and behind you.
Okay.
But none in front at this point.
No other features.
Yeah.
Okay. How am I feeling? Am I still...
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay. And I've been on horseback for 2 hours, give or take, right?
A little
Since
closer
leaving.
to 3 at this point.
Oh,
but
3?
yeah.
Okay. And have not encountered anything.
Not really, no.
Okay. So looking around, which direction appears to have something closer?
We will pick a random direction. That would be south-southeast, assuming the direction you were going was north. Behind and to the right of you.
So behind. Okay. Well, let's head that way.
Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pause this for a moment, because I've been letting PAX on hold for a bit here. So, a fun little factoid. I was actually looking up the rules on diplomacy, and I've never actually had to enforce this per se, but it amused me because diplomacy only works if the target can understand you. I just mentioned that because I've actually had, or I was actually conceiving of an idea where, well, maybe, if he was diplomatic, maybe that could convince them to be more inclined towards him. And then I realized that he's babbling monkey nonsense at them.
Yeah, I mean...
Polite, but still monkey
Polite
nonsense.
monkey nonsense. The monkey's going, ooh, 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 ooh. Direct Animaniacs reference. Not that anyone would get that one.
Oh, yes.
So you head that way, away from the exit, and head
Son of a
towards
crap.
the. As you're on approach, you see what looks like a massive pillar of rock, basalt, etc. It looks like the core of the pillar, if I could call it that, is the ruby that's glowing, and it looks like chunks of it have basically been broken away. So that there's floating rock, huge chunks, we're talking house-sized chunks of rock, just floating around the core. Okay. And so the glowing light is coming from within there. And at its base is tons upon tons of fungal growths. Lots and lots of very large mushrooms larger than you are. And quite a few of them. I'd say in the dozens, if not hundreds range. And it gets to the point... Well, as I say, it gets to the point when on approach, you're actually not walking on ground or rock anymore. You're walking on mold. Red mold.
Okay. But I am still feeling more comfortable.
Oh, yeah. You're great.
Okay. Do I have to be holding my... sentient sword to communicate with it?
No. As long as it is in your possession, you may communicate with it.
Okay. Justite, is there any chance you understood the language that the golems were talking to me in?
If this is a 20, I'll say yes, because there's a possibility of that. It's a 1.
That figures. The sword is asleep. It has no idea what's going on.
The sword is... Huh? What? Oh, verily thou and withereth... What? I missed it.
Yeah.
Where are we? Oh my god. Where are we?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
This is weird. I'm confused.
Has he noticed the horse yet?
We'll assume that he ignores the horse. That he's just like, huh? What horse? I don't see a horse, Master. I do not see a horse here.
It's probably for the best. Okay.
But in all honesty, the sword does not... It was awake the whole time, and it does not actually recognize any of the language that has been used.
I didn't think it would, but it was worth a try.
Although this strange and alien realm does seem to suit you, sir.
Thank you. Okay. So I'm heading towards this glowing pillar. Anything going on in the area?
Yeah, there's a large number of the aforementioned creatures which are rolling around. Some of them appear to be, for lack of a better term, mining. And when I say mining, I mean they roll into a giant pillar, and I mean roll into it literally. They kind of morph into it, and they just disappear into the rock face. And they'll come out a bit later with some gemstones embedded in them, that kind of a thing.
Okay. As I'm heading towards the pillar, do I notice any larger buildings like the feast hall that I saw before?
No, the buildings here overall seem a lot smaller than that one. There are quite a few of them, though. So much so that, in fact, as you start to notice, you notice they stretch off into the distance, more or less without end. You're probably on the edge of some kind of city. Or at the very least, manufactory.
Okay. Unless I'm approached by one of the new golems, I'm going to make my way up to the pillar.
Okay. Well, I'm going to fast forward through a scene where you're approached by a golem and it goes, and it leads you away and tries to feed you gems, and you say no. Because that would happen. But I don't think our viewers need to see a repeat of what is effectively the same scene.
Okay. So the same thing happens again.
Yeah, the same thing happens again.
Okay.
And and you're like, no, and they're just like, and they don't banish you. There's no elder, big malachite thing this time. It's just a bunch of random golems, which look normally, they're varied. They're not identical. That is actually worth noting. They're not identical at all, but they don't seem to be of any particular stature by any means you can perceive. And after a while, they just leave you alone and just kind of mutter to themselves as they roll off.
Okay.
And then you head to the pillar. Several minutes later. You've arrived at the pillar. Now, the pillar's base, I'd say, is about as wide as a football field, give or take.
Okay.
It's somewhat large. It juts up so high that at this point you actually can't even see, because you're so close to it, you can't even see high enough. Like the angle is wrong. You can't even see where the rock should break off. Now you can see the floating house-sized chunks of rock and stone that are hovering around it. But yeah. And I think we'll just stop there for the moment, and we'll see what you're gonna do.
Okay. Oh, okay. Does there appear to be any kind of energy emanating from it? Other than light?
Yes. There's a fairly large amount of roll knowledge elements running off of it.
Wow. 26.
Okay, that's actually pretty good. Just a second. The obviously, and this sounds like an obvious thing, but they are in fact emanating elemental energy. But when I say that, I don't mean just like the way most things do. I mean, this is absolutely thundering out energy, but not. I'm saying that wrong.
I'm imagining it's just like humming with energy.
Yeah. It's not actually barraging you or anything. In fact, the fact that you can tell that there's so much energy pushing through it and can't feel it is interesting. It means it's being either controlled or directed somewhere.
And can I tell what kind of energy?
Energy of element of earth.
Earth, okay.
And I think we'll just stop at that for the moment. I don't mean the session. I'm thinking info. Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I figure if you're going to stop the session, you're going to say, and we're done for tonight.
And then Guido was screwed forever. Fun fact: Sis and I had a brief discussion about what if he doesn't come back, because I had to realistically come up with a possibility for that, and I thought about it for a decent chunk of the last week, and my answer was, I'm gonna have to ask you to roll a new character at that point. 'Cause,
Yeah. It's gonna suck, but
hopefully that
Yeah.
will not come to pass.
yeah. Okay.
You know, it's funny, over in the forum campaign right now, they've just split the party 4 different ways. I mean, they're all over the place, right? And I'm just like, oh my god, they split the party in general, but then they split it that badly. I thought I had seen how bad splitting the party could be, but then Guido came along and showed me the light of just how bad the party could be split.
I didn't mean to.
We don't even know where Guido is.
Right.
He's just
It
not
wasn't,
there.
I'm going to go off this way and do this thing. It's, I'm going to go help Z.
Where am I?
Where the hell am I?
Okay. So enough making fun. So yeah, you're at the base of this pillar. It's
Okay.
humming with tons of elemental energy. I'd say, I don't know if you've ever been to the Temple of Earth, but it doesn't matter because you've been to other elemental temples, at least 2 that I know of. Oh, 3, excuse me, 3 that I know of. So yeah, you recognize that same type of thrumming. It's obviously not as strong,
Okay.
but it is pretty much identical in terms of feel. Just this is Earth rather than space or air or light.
Okay. Going to dismount.
Okay.
I'm going to tell my my horse, Atero,
Love that name.
go touch the pillar.
Okay. Let me think about what happens as a result of that.
Notice notice I have my mount touch it, not me.
Yeah. Well, okay. I know what starts to happen. I know the beginning of what happens. Atero vanishes.
Not surprised. I'm going to start backing away from the pillar.
Just, oh my god. Okay. Okay. Atero vanishes, and there's a fairly long pause. And no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to have you kill this whole city.
Watching for falling house sites.
I could actually, have a lore reason for that to happen right now. All right, third. What do you think? Should I let him murder this entire city without meaning to? You may type a response if you prefer. He's gonna roll.
Flipping a coin. Oh god, I'm evil.
No. Okay.
Okay.
The
It
dice
would have been
roll
funny.
that is him. I'm not sure if "funny" is the right word at this point.
Well, not funny in the fact that, other things are dying. Funny in the, yeah, that's typical.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just okay. Yeah. Have you ever played any of the Shock games, Guido? System Shock, Bioshock.
Oh, yes. I've played the Bioshock 1 and 2 and the original System Shock.
You never played System Shock 2?
Not really.
Take this as a huge recommendation. It's my favorite of the Shock series, personally.
I've
And I
heard-
don't like horror games too,
Yeah.
so take that as an additional recommendation. But anyways, I'm just reminded of those games because what those games do best is, hey, everything's gone wrong, and then it will never stop going wrong.
Yes.
This is the situation I'm being very strongly. Yeah. So Well, he said no. So instead, what happens is after a period of time, there's the whole area just starts to shake, like quake shake, you know.
Okay.
And after a bit of time, a chunk of the pillar way up above you literally bursts outward, and you see chunks of rock go flying out. And you hear this "Yay!" way up there.
Seriously?
And this is kind of cool. The rock sits there for a moment in the air and then returns to the pillar and reforms where it was. And your horse plummets. Well, it's dead for now. It's just fast forward. It plummets
Splat.
about the height of the Empire State Building and is smeared into black goop all over the ground. As you know, that is not a permanent death. It's just basically desummoned as a result.
Right.
So,
Looking at the black goop. Glad that wasn't me.
oh my goodness. It just occurred to me I had a third option, which is more evil, technically. Well, it's not, because, I mean, killing an entire town is pretty horrible, or entire city. But I'm just picturing the third option as being funnier. But no, we already decided. So.
All right. Are any of the buildings... Well, am I tired?
No.
Okay.
Keep in mind, you've been traveling on horseback for like 4 hours at this point. I need to make a note of that, because I need to know when you... Assuming you get out of here, I need to know how long it's been for them. So I'm just going to start taking notes of the time passage here. Okay.
Out of character is it 1 for 1 time?
It is 1 for 1.
Wow. Okay.
This is not a time dilation circumstance.
Jesus. Okay. Well, if I'm not tired, then I'm not going to try and find somewhere to rest.
Yeah, you feel great.
Using... Was that?
You feel great.
Yeah.
Like, you feel energetic right now.
Okay.
Even though you just killed your horse.
Hey, but look on the bright side. I didn't kill the town.
That is true. I think that's a fair trade.
Yet. So, using that same compass idea, still trying to find the spatial location. I'm gonna...
Go ahead and roll it, yeah.
Okay. This is gonna suck. Oh, that's not so bad. 21.
21 is not bad. So with a 21, you're pretty sure that the direction you were going originally, towards the emptiness, is more close towards spatial than any other direction at the moment.
Yep. I'll start making my way that way.
Okay. On foot now.
On foot, yeah.
So, I'm going to say this weirdly, because this is hard to describe. I've actually done this concept as a writer before. Obviously, I've described the sun, if you could even call it that, the black star up there. But since it's always directly up, and since you're not tired or hungry or anything really, your knowledge of the passage of time basically kind of goes away.
I'm not surprised.
Now, this is a this is a cool idea in real life. The idea that if all the things you use to keep track of time, your heartbeat, the day and night cycle, being hungry, etc., went away, that your knowledge of time would just go away, basically. Like days would pass and you wouldn't even be aware of it. So you travel for a while. It's what I'm leading up to.
Okay, wait. There is one thing that I can use to approximate an estimated passage of time.
Okay.
Once so if it is the next day, I can resummon the horse.
That is true. That is true. Ah, damn.
Because I...
Okay. Well, you travel. And I described my previous thing in that manner because I want to make it clear that you, Guido, in character, think you've been traveling for like a couple hours. Maybe.
Okay.
And then you can summon your horse again. And you're aware of that. It just kind of clicks like...
Oh dear.
You are so far away now that you can't even see the red behind you.
Looking at the horse. Well, welcome back.
Master, what the hell? What the hell? Why?
That was not my intention.
It didn't... Yeah, I was... it was weird. And of course, it can't actually speak, so all it gives you is impressions of belonging, and then rejection, and then damage, and then plummeting to his death.
And then resummoned.
And then resummoned a few seconds ago. And being confused.
Well, hopefully we don't have to do that again.
And it will glance around and hang on, it's got to roll awareness with its... Oh my god. So it's at like -2, so that's a 3. And it looks around and says, "Where are we?" I don't see anything. Master, where'd you go?
All right, so I'm going to mount the horse again and continuing in that same direction.
Okay. You're traveling much faster now. Gallop, gallop, gallop.
Okay.
First, fortunately, it's not actually going to take that much longer. It's just this was day plus range of time here. So you keep galloping, and I'm going to try and describe this really particularly. So forgive me with sucking with my words here.
Okay.
You are galloping along, and again, with a total lack of perspective, you can't even tell you're moving other than the fact that if you looked down, the ground is moving under you. And you're going along and going along, and the fog has unchanged, and you're still... And at this point, flavor question. Have you re-helmeted at any point in time?
I suppose I would have, because I don't really have any way to carry the helm other than wearing it.
Okay.
So, yeah, I guess I would have.
In that case, you've gotten used to the rather repetitive sound of tiny little chunks of pebble, dirt, rock, and gem just kind of cling, clang, clang on your helmet. And without any warning, the sounds stop, and you realize that you haven't even really been paying attention or processing what's in front of your eyes, because it's just been, nothing for forever. And you basically go over a cliff.
Oh shit.
Now, when you keep going, you realize, there's no plunks, and you fall over, and you're plummeting down for like a moment, and then down stops being in that direction and inverts completely. And you start falling towards the black star up in the sky. And as you're plummeting at basically terminal velocity, with your steed, which is flailing wildly in the air as you plummet, you realize as you look down that you actually can see what is effectively looks like the edge of, for lack of a better word, the world. The actual edge of that inner plane, plate, continent, whatever you want to call it, that you were traveling on is visible. And it just stops. It terminates. And you look down and then just kind of wonder, and if you look in the direction you were still going, way off in the distance you can actually see another plate. You can just barely see it. It's very distant. But you can actually see another plate which begins some ways further that way. And you keep accelerating past terminal velocity
Oh shit.
towards the black star.
Okay, hold on. As a free action,
Okay.
I can dismiss my mount.
That is true.
So I'm going to reach down and comfortingly pet his skeletal, flaming, whatever,
As it screams.
as it's screaming. Yes.
Except I don't know what a horse screaming sounds like.
I will not put you through that landing again.
So soon after the last one.
And I dismiss him.
Okay, so he vanishes. And then reappears. No, so he vanishes as a free action, and it's funny because it takes you a few moments for this to really sink in, because your brain has basically entered like a fugue state. You're just because you've been traveling on horse. You've probably done this in real life. When you're doing something repetitive for a long period of time, you just zone out completely.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes you a moment to even realize you're actually like everything has changed completely and stuff's actually happening. And then you look, and then you realize, like, oh god, here, look, okay, it's okay. Desummon, dismiss, and then you keep accelerating until you finally actually smack right into the black star, which is huge. I'd say it's about the size of, I don't know, the United States, in terms of overall size. So I mean, as it approaches, it gets, it basically blots out your view, and you land on what looks like inky blackness, and you hit really, really hard, and you black
Got
out.
5 damage reduction.
You and you reduce the damage you take from the impact by 5. And then we're gonna chop this off a bit.